I remember the day my 6-year-old great-granddaughter, Emily, ran up to me for our usual bear hug. But this time something was different. As I lifted her up, my arms started shaking, something that had never happened before. Emily looked at me with those innocent eyes and said, "Grandpa, why are your arms wiggling? You used to be so strong." I set her down gently, smiled, and told her I was just a bit tired, but inside, I felt something break. That night I looked in the mirror and barely recognized the man staring back. The arms that once could carry my children, fix anything around the house, and even help my neighbors move furniture, they looked like they belonged to someone else. Thin, weak, old. I wondered, when did this happen? And more importantly, was this just an inevitable part of aging that I had to accept? Maybe you've had a moment like this. Perhaps it wasn't with a grandchild. Maybe you couldn't open a jar that used to give you no trouble, or you needed help getting up from your favorite chair, or you noticed clothes hanging differently on your frame, not because you've lost weight, but because you've lost something else, your muscle. I'm Dr. Harold Winters. I've been practicing medicine for over 65 years, and at 91, I still see patients 3 days a week. I specialized in geriatric care for most of my career, but the truth is my most valuable education has come from living through the aging process myself. I've experienced everything I'm going to talk about today firsthand, alongside thousands of my patients, and what I've learned might surprise you. You see, when we reach our 60s, 70s, and beyond, our bodies begin to lose muscle mass. The medical term is sarcopenia, from the Greek words for poverty of flesh. It happens to everyone, but the rate and severity can vary dramatically. By age 80, many people have lost 30–40% of their muscle mass from their peak years. That's not just a cosmetic issue. It's directly linked to falls, fractures, loss of independence, and even premature death. Let me tell you about my patient Margaret. She was 78 when she first came to me, using a walker after a minor fall that resulted in a fractured wrist. "Doctor," she told me with tears in her eyes, "I used to dance 3 times a week. Now I'm afraid to walk to my mailbox." Her daughter had moved in with her because Margaret could no longer safely live alone. The worst part? Margaret thought this was just normal aging that she had to accept, or Frank, a 82-year-old former carpenter. His hands, once strong enough to build homes, now struggled to button his own shirt. His grandchildren had stopped asking him to teach them things in the workshop, not because they weren't interested, but because Frank's family worried about his safety around tools. "I feel useless," he confided during an appointment. "Like I'm just waiting around to die." I see this pattern with alarming frequency. Muscle loss leads to weakness. Weakness leads to inactivity. Inactivity accelerates muscle loss. And suddenly, you're caught in a downward spiral that can rob you of your independence, your confidence, and your joy. The medical establishment often treats this as inevitable. "Well, you're 75, they might say with a dismissive shrug. Or worse, "What do you expect at your age?" But here's what I need you to understand today. While some muscle loss is a natural part of aging, the dramatic decline that leaves so many seniors frail, dependent, and isolated is not inevitable. The truth, which I discovered both through decades of research and through my own journey, is that we've been looking at muscle loss all wrong. Most doctors focus entirely on exercise. Just lift weights, they say, or they recommend protein shakes designed for bodybuilders, not considering the unique needs of older digestive systems. And when those approaches don't work well enough, they throw up their hands and say there's nothing more to be done. But they're missing something crucial. Something that research has only recently brought to light, and something I've witnessed transform the lives of hundreds of my older patients. You see, the real problem isn't just that we're not building muscle, it's that our bodies have lost the fundamental building blocks needed to maintain the muscle we have. And no amount of exercise can compensate when these essential nutrients are missing from your diet. I'm going to share with you a simple solution that has helped me maintain more strength and mobility at 91 than many people have at 70. It's something you probably have in your kitchen right now. It costs just pennies a day, and it starts working in as little as 1 week. But before I tell you what it is, I want you to understand that this isn't some miracle cure or fad. It's based on sound science that, unfortunately, most healthcare providers don't discuss with their older patients. And it addresses the root cause of excessive muscle loss in a way that typical approaches simply can't. The solution I'm about to share has three key components: a specific food that provides the exact amino acid profile your aging muscles need, a simple preparation method that maximizes absorption, timing protocol that ensures these nutrients reach your muscles. When they can do the most good, I've seen wheelchair-bound patients start walking again. I've watched people who couldn't lift their grandchildren regain the strength to play actively with them. And most importantly, I've seen the light return to the eyes of seniors who thought their strongest days were behind them. So what is this powerhouse food that can help halt and even reverse age-related muscle loss? It's eggs, specifically whole eggs prepared in a particular way and consumed at specific times. Now I know what you might be thinking. Eggs? Really? That simple? Yes. But there's much more to it than just adding eggs to your diet. The protocol matters tremendously. Let me walk you through exactly how this works and why it's so effective, specifically for older adults. Step 1. Consume 2 whole eggs, soft-boiled or poached every morning within 30 minutes of waking up. The key here is the preparation method. Soft boiling or poaching ensures that the proteins remain in their most bioavailable form. When we overcook eggs, the protein structures change in ways that make them harder for our aging digestive systems to break down and utilize. Why first thing in the morning? As we age, our bodies become less efficient at protein synthesis throughout the day. But there's a window of opportunity in the morning when our systems are most receptive to these nutrients. Taking advantage of this window can increase muscle protein synthesis by up to 25% compared to eating the same foods later in the day. For those who struggle with arthritis in your hands, here's a simple hack. Use an egg timer with a large dial. That's easy to grip. Or ask your pharmacist for a pill bottle without the child-proof cap to shake your eggs in a small amount of water to test if they're done. The egg will spin easily when cooked. Step 2. Add a small serving, about 1/4 cup, of fermented vegetables like sauerkraut or kimchi alongside your eggs. This step might sound unusual, but it's crucial. The natural probiotics in fermented vegetables significantly enhance protein absorption in older adults. A study from the National Institute on Aging found that seniors who included fermented foods with protein-rich meals absorbed up to 18% more amino acids than those who ate protein alone. If you don't care for the taste of fermented vegetables, start with just a teaspoon mixed into a small amount of applesauce. The sweetness masks the sour flavor while still providing the digestive benefits. For those with dentures or swallowing difficulties, you can pulse the fermented vegetables briefly in a small food processor until they're the consistency of relish. Step 3. Include 2 more eggs in your evening meal, ideally 3 to 4 hours before bedtime. This second serving provides a sustained release of amino acids that helps prevent muscle breakdown while you sleep. As we age, our bodies become more catabolic at night, meaning they break down muscle tissue more readily. This evening protein helps counteract that process. The 3 or 4 hour window before bed is important because it allows for digestion to be well underway before you lie down, reducing the risk of acid reflux while ensuring the nutrients are available during the critical early sleep hours when growth hormone is released. If cooking in the evening is difficult due to fatigue or vision issues, hard-boil several eggs in the morning when you have more energy and keep them refrigerated for easy evening meals. Use an egg slicer if you have arthritis. The leverage makes it much easier than using a knife. Now, why eggs specifically? The protein in eggs contains all 9 essential amino acids in the perfect ratio for human muscle tissue. But even more important for seniors is that eggs are one of the richest natural sources of leucine, an amino acid that acts as a metabolic trigger for muscle protein synthesis. As we age, our muscles develop what scientists call anabolic resistance. They become less responsive to the usual signals that trigger muscle maintenance and growth. Research shows that overcoming this resistance requires about 3 grams of leucine per meal. 2 eggs provide approximately 1.5 grams, which is why we include them as part of a meal rather than alone. Eggs also contain choline, a nutrient that supports neuromuscular function, the connection between your nerves and muscles that allows for coordinated movement. Over 90% of seniors are deficient in choline, which contributes to the loss of fine motor control many experience. The vitamin D in egg yolks is crucial as well. A 25-year study following over 5,000 seniors found that those with optimal vitamin D levels maintained muscle strength and function significantly better than those who were deficient, regardless of their exercise habits. Let me tell you about Elizabeth, an 84-year-old former school teacher who came to me after a fall, left her with a fear of walking unassisted. Her daughter had to move in to help with basic tasks, and Elizabeth's world had shrunk to the confines of her small apartment. "I used to garden every day," she told me during her first visit. "Now I can barely stand long enough to water my houseplants." Elizabeth started the egg protocol, though she was skeptical. "Eggs won't make me young again, doctor," she said with a sad smile. But after just 3 weeks, she reported feeling more solid on her feet. After 6 weeks, she was using a cane instead of a walker. By 3 months, she was back to tending her small garden bed, with her daughter's supervision, but without physical assistance. "My neighbors noticed the change before I did," Elizabeth told me during a follow-up visit. "One of them said I was standing straighter. Another said I looked stronger." With tears in her eyes, she added, "My 5-year-old great-grandson asked if I was getting younger." Then there's Robert, who at 79 had resigned himself to watching his woodworking tools gather dust. His hands lacked the strength to safely operate. Equipment and his balance had become too precarious for him to feel confident in his workshop. Robert was particularly resistant to dietary changes. "I've eaten the same breakfast for 50 years, doctor. I'm not about to start eating eggs now," he insisted. But as his mobility continued to decline, Robert's daughter convinced him to try the protocol for just 1 month. Within 6 weeks, he reported significant changes. "The first thing I noticed was being able to get up from my chair without using the armrests," he told me. "Then I realized I could turn doorknobs without that shooting pain in my wrist." 3 months later, Robert brought me a small, beautifully crafted wooden box. "Made this last week," he said with quiet pride. "First piece I finished in over 2 years. Perhaps most moving was John, a 76-year-old widow who had become increasingly isolated as her strength declined. My friends still go for their weekly walks, but I had to stop joining them," she explained. After that, the invitations to other activities gradually stopped coming. Jean followed the protocol diligently and also added a short daily walk that increased in distance as her strength improved. After 4 months, she not only rejoined her walking group, but found herself toward the front of the pack rather than struggling to keep up. "My son said something that made me cry," Jean shared during a checkup. He said, "Mum, you're moving like yourself again." I hadn't realized how much of myself I'd lost until I started getting it back. I've seen these transformations hundreds of times, but the science behind why this works is just as compelling as the results. A landmark study, published in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society, tracked 2,700 seniors over a 12-year period. Those who consumed high-quality protein consistently at breakfast and dinner showed 40% less muscle loss and 30% fewer falls than those with similar protein intake, but different timing. Another study from the University of Birmingham found that absorption of protein from whole eggs was 23% higher in seniors compared to isolated protein supplements, likely due to the cofactors present in the whole food that support digestion and utilization. But perhaps most impressive was research from the Mayo Clinic that specifically examined leucine timing in adults over 70. Participants who consumed leucine-rich foods within 30 minutes of waking showed measurable improvements in muscle synthesis rates within just 5 days. Now, I want to address something important. You might be concerned about cholesterol from eating eggs daily. Rest assured, decades of research have debunked the myth that dietary cholesterol from eggs raises heart disease risk in most people. In fact, for adults over 65, higher cholesterol levels are associated with longer lifespans and better cognitive function. Unless you have been specifically directed by your doctor to restrict egg consumption due to a rare genetic condition, the benefits far outweigh any theoretical concerns. I'm 91 years old, and I've followed this protocol myself for the past 17 years. I still work, still live independently, still drive, and still play with my great-grandchildren. Just last month, I helped my grandson move a couch into his new apartment. Not by myself, of course, I'm not suggesting miracles, but I was able to lift my end and walk backward without fear of falling. The strength in my hands allows me to still practice medicine and write my own notes. The stability in my legs lets me garden on weekends, and the overall resilience in my body gives me confidence to travel, to try new activities, and to plan for future years rather than worrying about decline. Is this protocol the only factor? Of course not. I stay active, I prioritize sleep, I maintain social connections. But this nutritional foundation makes all those other healthy habits possible and effective, so let me encourage you. Try this for just 7 days. That's all I ask. Within a week, many of my patients report feeling a subtle but noticeable difference, often a slight increase in grip strength or easier time getting up from seated positions. Within 30 days, the changes become more obvious to you and to others. And after 90 days, that's when the transformations I've described really take hold. It's never too late to start. I've had patients in their mid-90s see significant improvements. Your body wants to be strong. It wants to support you. Sometimes it just needs the right tools to do its job. Remember, the muscles you've lost weren't taken by age alone. They were lost because of a combination of factors, many of which are within your control to change. What happened to your strength wasn't your fault. How could you know what no one ever told you? But now that you understand, you have the power to make a difference in your own life. Try the protocol. Notice how you feel. Pay attention to small victories. Being able to open a jar that would have given you trouble before, or walking up steps with more confidence, or simply feeling more stable when you get out of bed in the morning. Your family will notice the difference. But more importantly, you'll feel it yourself. You'll recognize that person in the mirror again, the one who was strong, capable, and confident, the one who isn't defined by limitations, because you were never meant to simply endure your final chapters. You were meant to live them fully, with strength, dignity, and joy. If you found this information helpful, please consider sharing it with other seniors who might benefit. Subscribe to our channel for more evidence-based health information, specifically for older adults. And leave a comment below if you have questions. I do my best to respond to as many as I can. Thank you for your time today. This is Dr. Harold Winters, wishing you strength, health, and many more years of living life on your own terms.